We're going to back up now and take a big picture look, reminding people that the 2020 election was, in the words of President Trump's own Department of Homeland Security, quote, the most secure in American history. But ahead of that vote, before the 2020 election, nearly 60% of all Americans said that they already lacked confidence in the honesty of American elections. Here we are a year later, and 2/3 of all Americans believe our democracy is threatened. That's according to a CBS News poll. And the reality is that is a crisis of trust that is bigger than just one party. I sat down with two very different voters, one Republican, one Democrat, to talk about something that they share in common: doubt in the system.
What was it like in Washington on January 6th?
Well, it's a little chilly out here, but it was freezing there.
As people stormed the Capitol 1 year ago today, Sharon Story and her husband Victor did not follow the crowd inside.
People started singing the national anthem, and it came all across all of us. And everybody, once they started hearing it, was participating. And it was just exciting.
But this grandmother of 10, who had driven all the way from Gaffney, South Carolina to be there, firmly believes that the American democracy she used to teach about in her 6th grade classroom is on the edge of collapse.
Do you think a civil war is possible in your lifetime?
I think if they push people too far against the wall, especially the Southerners, they're not going to take it.
And it's not just Story who worries that when it comes to actual fighting, we are closer than any of us would like to believe.
How confident are you that the 2020 election was the most secure in American history?
Oh, not at all. That's a joke. No, it was not.
That feeling of fraud, if only a feeling, is what led so many to Washington on January 6th to, in their minds, defend democracy.
The words that come to mind for you to describe the feeling and the atmosphere there, what are they?
Patriotic, unity, hope.
When you hear other people describe it as a riot or an insurrection, how do you feel?
I feel upset.
Her belief that the election was stolen is shared by millions. And it doesn't seem like anything or anybody can restore their faith.
Do you trust Congress?
Not now. Not even Republicans.
Do you trust journalists, the media?
Well, even Fox News, who we used to have respect for, seems to have let us down and called the election early.
Do you trust the courts?
Oh, my.
What's particularly dangerous about this moment, though, according to people who have studied Democratic decline, is that these feelings of mistrust exist across party lines, albeit for very different reasons.
How did you feel watching Bernie Sanders lose to Hillary Clinton in the primary?
That was when I lost a good amount of my faith in the system.
Alicia Sadassi is a bartender in Brooklyn who believes the will of the voters was thwarted in 2016 by superdelegates in the primary,
Donald John Trump,
and the Electoral College in the general election.
I don't think that any part of the election had democracy fulfilled. I mean, Trump didn't get the majority of votes, so how is that democracy, right?
While Sadassi's doubts in the system are different from those expressed at the Capitol last year, the effect is very much the same.
So you don't trust Congress?
It's hard to trust Congress, yeah.
You don't trust the Supreme Court?
Narrowing it down, right?
Despite their differences, both women see themselves as defenders of the same underlying principles.
You consider yourself to be a patriot?
Yes.
Are you proud to be an American?
Yes.
I think that I am a patriot because I'm fighting for what our constitutional rights are supposed to be and what this country says it is.
And both say they'll continue to vote and even organize for their side.
I still participate in it because I have faith that there is the possibility for change.
Are you going to trust the results?
Well, I'll vote because I always vote, but I don't know that I'll trust them.
So regardless of who wins in 2024, many voters, and maybe even most, could once again doubt the results, raising the question of how our republic can withstand such a crisis.
How concerned are you about the future of the country?
I'm very concerned. I think we're at a pivotal point I think that good people can't stand by and do nothing anymore.
America is, as a matter of record, the longest continuously operating democracy on the planet. Are we going to keep it?
I mean, all empires fall.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought there. Alicia does leave us with a note of hope. I can tell you that she is interested in politics, may even run herself. Both of those women you heard from continue to vote, so they have some hope that the system can recover. I also want to point out that we're putting those two voters together, but there's not equivalence in the journey to that feeling of doubt. There's only one party who was responsible for the attack on the Capitol behind me. There's one party primarily responsible for undermining the faith in the 2020 results. But when you have voters on both sides distrusting the system, you put the country in a situation where we're going to be wobbling into the future, and I'm not sure we're going to stay afloat as a result. It's a very dangerous line to walk, and how we get off it is a challenge of our time.
Well, it's been my experience, Tony. Wobbling is never good. And, you know, what struck me about that piece is that the only thing that united those two is how messed up the system is and how broken the country is. And that just makes me very sad. I'm still trying to cling on to hope as we sit here 1 year later.
Yeah, as different as they may be, as different as their views are, they still have some common ground on what they agree with. And they both believe they're patriots. Patriot is defined as someone who vigorously supports their country and is willing to defend it. The question is, where is the truth? And if we can all land on truth together, then we'll be in a better place, that's for sure.